Greetings, Limitless Nation, and welcome again to another incredible edition of Limitless TV. I'm your host, lifestyle and procrastination expert Chris Cooper, and today I am honored and privileged to have none other than the amazing Mr. Christopher Perlera with us today. See, I made him blush. So from that perspective, we're going to have a really good conversation today, all around the concept of civic literacy.
That's right.
But let me first, how are you doing today, first of all?
I'm feeling great. Happy to be here.
Excellent. I'm glad that you're here, especially since he's my namesake. So let's jump right into this. I want to officially introduce Chris to each and every one of you guys. Chris is the Special Projects Coordinator for the Georgia Secretary of State's office and leads a variety of large-scale, high-impact efforts within the corporations, licensing, elections, and securities divisions. Before this role, he served as the deputy press secretary and as an agency-wide business analyst. He is a founding member of the Georgia GOP Community Service State Committee, which encourages and fosters community involvement across Georgia at the county level. He is also the Community Affairs Director for the Georgia Young Republicans and past Communications Director for the Atlanta Young Republicans. Prior to living in Atlanta, he ran for the Georgia House of Representatives in Georgia District 118. And he is also a proud graduate of Lead Atlanta, a program comprised of the best and brightest civic leaders from all facets of business, government, nonprofits, and the arts in Metro Atlanta. And I'm sure he's going to tell you that his class is the best class in Lead, but clearly my class was the best class. We have that kind of running joke. Every time people go through this amazing program, they always say that their class is the best class. You can often find him on Spanish language media such as Univision, Telemundo, or other local news publications where he covers political issues as they relate to the Latino community. He is a dual citizen of El Salvador and the U.S. He is a passionate advocate for the Latino community and involved with several local and statewide organizations focusing on Latinos and Latino youth. He is a graduate of the University of Georgia. We won't hold that against him since clearly I'm a yellow jacket. But he spends his free time engaging youth in politics and exploring the growing relationship between technology and government. And after today, he has to take me on the road with him because I think I do a great job of introducing him to the world.
That was a very solid intro. Yes, Chris is helping.
You couldn't have written it better yourself, right?
Exactly.
But I'm so excited to have you today here, Chris, so we can have a really good conversation around this whole concept that I know you're so passionate about. And that concept is civic literacy. So let's first just dive into it. Let's talk about a little bit about your background. I mean, I said a lot of stuff.
You did.
But if I missed anything, we can talk about that first. And if not, we can go right into, like, where did this passion for civic literacy come from? And what is civic literacy?
I guess it's important to start off with civic literacy because we usually hear about financial literacy.
Absolutely.
That's probably the most common buzz phrase. But civic literacy is still a type of literacy. And it's something that almost no one speaks about because it is the knowledge of using influence to change the world around you. It sounds kind of ominous, and there's a very good TED Talk. I love TED Talks, so I'll make a plug. And there's a guy named Jacob Lew who coined that term for me. And it was just a very powerful description of how a city is the best way and best example to describe this scenario. But really, it's just using your influence, whether positively or negatively. But we as young individuals in schools and as adults are never really taught to cultivate influence in what essentially translates to politics and political power. Understood.
And then, so how did you end up in this space? I mean, clearly you've been in politics, we know that, but
yes.
But what drove you to really say, you know what, this is a topic of interest that I know I'm interested in, and I want to make sure that other people are well versed in?
Absolutely. So it sometimes sounds like I've been doing this for some time, and I like to say that I have a really strong affinity for it. I enjoy it. I've really only been doing this since I ran for office. It was a trial by fire, and before that, I was your classic, almost apathetic millennial. I thought I would be fine, and that as long as I could take care of myself, well, what matters around the world? Why should I bother helping others? Why should I give back? And I had an epiphany moment with a family member of mine, a young cousin who's right between the ages of myself and my younger brother, who's 23, and I'm 30 now. And we went to see him in a New York City visit. You know, we got to see the city, and he was at a startup. And so both my brother and I came away with two very different career paths. But as soon as I got back, I joined a local nonprofit that focused on financial literacy for the Hispanic community, biculturalism, just making sure you retain your culture and making sure that you appreciate where you are and you're a part of the community and helping out where you need to be helping. And so I ran with that. In a matter of months, I went from being on a committee or a volunteer to a committee to the chair of the committee to the board to the chairman of the board. And then in that process, I was presented with an opportunity to run for the county commissioner seat in the district that I lived in. And that evolved because of a process called redistricting. And if anybody doesn't know what that is, it's when the maps basically get readjusted to make sure they're accounting for population more than anything. It has a little bit of a cynical side to it that politics has in play, but that's the gist of it, assuming everything goes correctly. It opened up another opportunity and basically a fresh district that never existed before. And I ended up changing my race to a state house race. And then I came to the attention of multiple individuals at the state political level. I did not win. And oftentimes losing is the best thing for us because it allows us to grow the most. And I made the most of my loss. And I was able to transition over to the Secretary of State's office where Secretary Kemp currently recruited me. He said, "You seem like a bright young man, and I want to give you the access that I have," which in life, it's all about sharing access with individuals that otherwise wouldn't have it. And that's kind of how I found myself in this world.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, I definitely want to dive more into that story. We're going to go to a short break so we can get, pay some bills around here as well.
Absolutely.
From our sponsors. So once again, you're watching Limitless TV. I'm your host, Chris Cooper. Have the amazing Chris Perlera with me today, and we'll be right back after this short message from our sponsors. Hey guys, welcome back, Limitless Nation. Once again, you're watching Limitless TV, and I'm your host, Chris Cooper, and I'm so excited to have Chris Perlera with me here today. And he was just getting into a good, juicy part of this story about why he's so passionate about civic literacy and how he literally was given access, and because he was given access, that prompted him to want to share access with other individuals. Did I get that right?
That's right.
I love it. I love it. So let's get more into that. So, of course, right now, what we're in the middle of right around this time is, of course, it's political season, specifically the presidential race, and there's lots of Republican candidates around. And not
we
so many
don't
Democrats
test anybody to be like,
candidates
are
around,
you really
but
a Republican?
it's
And
quite a
what
field
makes
of
you a Republican?
individuals.
So the problem
being
is
as
we
though,
end up with about
you're
15
representing-
candidates to
well,
start, and then we end up with
you're
9, and then we
representing-
end
you're
up
part
with
of the
7, and then we finally end up with 2.
Yes, you can say
And then
that.
you can add up the numbers
We'll say that.
for all the other
what is
candidates,
your
and you
take?
can beat
I
any
wanna
other
get you.
candidate.
So,
And
what is your
Trump,
take
he
on this
has
race, and specifically the
the
Republican?
base, the
Absolutely.
Most, the
So,
angriest,
that's everybody's talking about Donald
what
Trump.
I call it
And
nativism. It's a question I've answered day in, day out in
Right.
multiple languages. So what we have to remember is, on the Republican side, we do not tell anyone that they cannot run for office. Immigrant, unfriendly component in this race. And also another interesting piece is that he also has acquired the angry white Democratic base that feels left behind by the focus on diversity and peoples of color. And they have flocked over to Trump in his campaign to buoy that even further. So he's representing probably about, at best, anywhere from about 20 to 30% of this primary voter base. And what hurts us when we have candidates like Marco Rubio, Ted Cruz, Ben Carson, John Kasich, we had Carly Fiorina. We had the most diverse slate of candidates ever.
You did, yeah,
We have 2
absolutely.
Hispanic males. We had a female in the race.
Right.
We got people of all ages, young
Right.
and old. And then on the other side, you have two old white people.
Yeah,
And that's the joke, but that's the reality.
Right.
So we're proud of that diversity, but at the same time, that diversity also hurts us. It's a double-edged sword. So until, there's a big fear right now. We're talking about a big schism in the Republican Party. And officially, I'm not a member of the RNC. We have our own governing body for the younger Republicans. So
Oh, wow.
I have great liberties with what I can say, because
wow.
my organization they don't censor me.
I got you.
And that's great, because I hate Donald Trump, and you can put that on television. So that said, I'm able to make some very candid commentary, whereas the RNC, in the worst case scenario, that Donald Trump ends up being the nominee, I can say, well, I'm not going to support him in any shape, form, or fashion. So we're in a very precarious position. Clearly, being Hispanic as well, and very, very passionate about immigrant issues. My family being dirt poor on the side of a mountaintop, and after U.S. military interventionism all across Latin America, I end up here, which I'm very thankful for being here. Don't get me wrong. Very, very strongly about the issue. There's a lot at stake here. There's specifically to my community and the Hispanic community, we run the risk of being ignored again for up to a decade, because historically we have let angry Republicans wield a dialogue in a minority, in a loud voice, and we have let the Democratic Party just kind of give us a carrot on the stick and never deliver. So it is a very personal issue. It is a very political one for me. And there's a lot of stake that people haven't even begun to discuss.
Got you. So how do you change that conversation, right? Understanding the limits that exist, if that's what you want to call it. I'm excited. This is the first time I ever heard about you guys having a separate youth component of
I
the
guess
party.
super quick, we are the YRNF, the Young Republican National Federation, and our slogan here in Georgia is fiscally conservative, socially awesome. I mean, we are a super diverse organization. Awesome. We have officers in every club that are either gay, Hispanic, Black, Asian, Indian, you name it, we got it. And that's kind of my role as community affairs director. What I do is I build coalitions. I say, what do we have in common? I was like, if your biggest thing is fiscal issues, which for most people that are young and in our demographic, that's the main thing. Right. And then it's like, leave everybody else alone. It's like, all right, I'm gonna put you in touch with our members that can leave their social stigmas or any of their social thoughts on the other side of the table. Let's work on what we can work on together. And so I go around literally Indie, Asian, Black, Hispanic. Of course, the Hispanic one's a lot easier for me, and Jewish communities as well. So I just go out and build partnerships and work together. So that's what the YRs are doing here in Georgia. We have a pretty good template, and the YRNF at large is again composed of 18 through 40.
I love it. Okay, so I'm really intrigued by this whole concept. In case you didn't figure it out, so with this coalition of individuals 18 to 40 that are, I would say, probably more forward-thinking than the party has been in the past.
Yep.
Definitely more, probably more savvy from a business perspective, technology perspective, and maybe even from an advocacy. I don't know. That might be going a little far with it.
Potentially, we like to think so.
It's right. Yeah, exactly. So what's the plan, man? Like, I mean, are you guys deciding to like, hey, we're going to groom who we really want to represent the party? Or I mean, what do you think the next steps are to really bring about that change so there isn't this huge schism within the Republican Party?
Yeah, that is the question, and actually the answer you gave is the most accurate answer. We end up as leaders in our age segment. Right. If anyone wants to get involved, I always tell them, I was like, look, you can get what you want out of this organization. You want to come and drink with fellow like-minded political people? Sure, that's what you get. You can have a social club. Right. As if you're over 21, of course, because we have 18-year-olds too.
Of course.
Or if you want to be an officer, if you want to volunteer, if you want to be plugged in with the grown-ups or the old people, as we call them, we give access because we have that. We usually have some kind of ancillary position on these executive boards. Right. And these are small circles. That's the reason that I'm so passionate about civic literacy is because as a percentage of the population from the whole United States of America and in many other countries, you have very, very few people that bother learning who makes the rules for the world around you, and they just are happy living in these sandboxes.
Okay, I love it. And I want to get more into what that outlet looks like, and I'm just really intrigued by this concept. So we're going to come back right after this short break. You're watching Limitless TV. Do not go away. It's getting hot in here a little bit. Red hot, to be exact. So we'll see you in just a few moments after we hear our words from our sponsors. Welcome back, Limitless Nation. So as you heard right before the break, we're getting into a red hot discussion about some exciting things that I'm excited about that I'm seeing in the Republican Party. through the young Republicans actually, standing up and being heard in a way that's a little bit different than what we've seen in the past. So I'm really excited to learn more about that. So I know right before break, we were talking about kind of creating somewhat of a pipeline. So let's talk about some of the ways that the party is using to kind of create that pipeline for future leadership development.
Absolutely. So we go as young as the teenage Republicans. So these individuals, they're in high school. There are very few civic organizations in a high school level.
Right.
So you've got some of the classical professional organizations, even like FBLA,
yep.
Future Farmers, depending on where in Georgia you live, Future Engineers, Future Healthcare. So there's little space for strong partisan identity. But these kids typically come from strongholds, political strongholds. Whether you're Democratic or Republican, they exist in some form. In our case, we got the teen Republicans, which we have some elected officials that feel very strongly about youth in high school. So they focus and work with them, constantly getting yes, let's not mince words, free volunteers. But we all volunteer for free at some point, and it's ridiculously good experience for them. So there's some elected officials that work with the teens, and we keep an eye on them and making sure that they're connected to the college Republicans, but that's really their game. The college Republicans make sure that the teen Republicans have a place where if they want to continue their civic involvement, because you're young, your views change, they evolve, everybody does. If they want to continue that, they go to the college Republicans. And the college Republicans are a pretty big organization too. There's a chapter at almost every single major university, including University of Georgia, even Emory, like whether it's a left-leaning organization or not, there's typically a college Republicans chapter. And then we have the Young Republicans, which is 18 through 40, which overlaps a little bit with the college Republicans, and some of them are members to both, but we're just like, do your thing at the college level. We will be here waiting for you when you want it. And and then from the YRs, from the 18 through 40, there's some people that stick around a little too long and wait till that 40. But those of us that are very strong in the organization accomplish what we want early on and spend anywhere from 10 years to 5 years in this organization if you're in leadership, and then they move on to county, district, and some overlap. Our executive boards at the local chapter and at the state level, we have district chairmen that represent an entire congressional district. We have individuals that have positions at the state party level, as in myself. So I'm a honorary committee member to this community service committee, which I'm not a state committee man or woman, as it's basically these delegates that fill all these committee spots. But I get access because, in this case, because I was personal friends with the second in charge of the state GOP, who is a young black male, if you did not know that. And his wife is in lead right now.
Awesome.
So that's kind of like the pipeline for politics, and then it continues on from there.
I see. And so what we're going to do is we have to jump to another break, but I'm loving this dialogue, and it's a unique and a refreshing perspective for me, I'm sure, as well as our viewers, about what's actually happening and what's real right now. So thank you so much for giving us that perspective.
You're very welcome.
And we'll be right back with more of Limitless TV. I'm your host, Chris Cooper, and we'll be right back after this short break. Welcome back, Limitless Nation. Once again, we're having an awesome conversation with my buddy, Mr. Chris Perlera, today. And he's schooling us on a lot of the great things that are happening within the Republican Party right now, despite what we hear. Outside of Trump, there's a lot of things going on outside of Trump, just understand that. I don't like him either, I'm going to say it too. But from that perspective, I would love to kind of dive. I know we talked about your personal preferences and all that kind of stuff, but I would love for you to share with our viewers how do technology, mentoring, education, public relations, social media, branding, and networking kind of all converge? Because I think you have a inkling of how all of these things kind of come together.
I think should we just go down the list?
Let's go.
So, we're going to say the public relations is all about and personal branding, social media, everybody knows that.
Right.
The mentoring is, that's just a facet of what you do if you're a mindful individual, whether you have kids or not.
Right, you want to give back, absolutely.
You need to give back, and it also makes you sharper because everyone says the teaching is the best way to grow and make a skill better. In terms of technology and government, we have a huge tech literacy failure in our government, nationally, statewide, at your local level. Very few individuals from a technological background ever bother with anything in politics because the personalities don't fit. Probably the most important thing that is not talked about right now, CISPA and SOPA, they're acronyms, and they have to do with your personal privacy rights. and whether or not the government will be able to intervene in your daily life and other bills like it. Everybody talks about privacy every day. Even right now, the Apple battle with the federal government, with the FBI. And it's, even though the literal fight between Apple and the FBI is more nuanced and more dependent on some of the legal jargon, the battle that's being waged right now is between the private sector and the public sector, or government and private sector, about what they can and cannot give over freely while violating your privacy rights. Absolutely. And historically, this is a new age where there's so much access, and the government
access to information.
It goes back to the tech illiteracy, where the government now realizes, oh crap, this entire ecosystem has grown around us, and we can't get to it. We're upset. We're like babies. We want our bottle. And so they want to suckle at the teat of information. So it is clearly, I'm really passionate about that, especially coming from a country where a lot of Latin American countries that end up with socialism and dictatorships, and they're very oppressive governments, and the number one way to oppress your people is to have complete control over their personal information, because they cannot escape. So that's a huge one. What else we got?
Exactly. Well, we had we talked about branding. Networking, I guess, it fits in.
Networking. I mean, I think you're an excellent networker. We met not that long ago at an event. At an event, we were guests of Google. Google's,
Google. We
like them. And we were at the Center for Civic Innovation, which sounds like a really cool place. It's you're like, oh, what do? They innovate. And we all met and we talked, but that's kind of what you and I live and breathe.
Absolutely.
We go out and we find neat ideas that have been organized professionally, and find other people like us because it's infectious. You elevate your company, you continue to grow. You meet people that you would have never met if you had just been sitting at home.
Exactly.
You're missing out on life, and it kind of ties back into civic literacy. It's like you show up to life, and it is a totally different experience versus sitting behind the couch or hanging out and just watching it go by.
Right. I love it. And it goes back, like you said, to the whole concept of the management, not only the management, I would say the management and implementation of your influence, right? And being able to, I always talk about when two people meet, whoever is more certain will always influence the other person.
Yeah.
Whoever's more committed to their outcome, whoever is the individual that sets their intention to say that I'm going to get X, Y, or Z, or I'm going to do X, Y, or Z. If my will is stronger than yours, I will win. If yours is stronger than mine, you will win.
I love that you brought that up.
So,
because that's Plato, classical Plato.
Yes.
The fire, the character, whoever's the stronger character imbues it to the other. I like it.
Yeah, but that actually comes from a knowledge of self, right? And understanding. I know, we had a show before with a guest, and she talked about that. Like when you're unapologetic in your power, you're standing in your power. And you understand what you bring to the table and what you offer, and you know your stuff. Yeah. So therefore, you will always influence the other individual.
That's right.
So I love this whole concept. That's why I was so intrigued when we talked about on the phone about the civic literacy thing, because it's really about managing that influence. There's even a program that my coach Tony Robbins actually does called Mastering Influence, and it really is about that process, how you effectively master things. So I think that's incredible. So tell me this. I couldn't let you get out of here without talking about procrastination.
Sure.
And as I said, I always say it. Limitless Nation is used to me saying it now. My name is Chris, and I'm a recovering professional procrastinator. And I say that because I got so good at it that I ended up having to write a book about it once I figured out what to do with it.
I'll have to read it.
It's called Get Shit Done. So from that perspective, what role has procrastination actually played, you think, in your development? Or lack thereof?
No, that's a great question, and it's a question I've answered before. So procrastination for me is typically like almost like dreaming. And it was ironic because I never remember my dreams. But I'm just sitting there attempting to avoid a decision, and I'm killing time. And what do I traditionally lose time on? It's actually video games. In college, I spent a year being a semi-pro video game player for this IT company with a couple of friends for an emerging video game that's evolved so much since then. And we were sponsored, and we got our hotel accommodations and food covered, but not our plane tickets. So video games, that procrastination was one of the best procrastinations of my life, because out of the video game, so I think a cousin gifted me a PC game. I'm a PC gamer. Okay. I still play when I have time, and my computer would not run it. So what do? I start researching with my Free America Online CD time and my modem trying to get on the internet. I was just like, well, my computer doesn't run this. What do I need? And I was like, okay, you need more RAM. You need a graphics card. I was like, how do I do this? So I ended up teaching myself technology. I have no formal technological training, but I am as heavy a hitter as you can get and then some without having any formal training. People will often think that I'm from IT. So, which is how I was an IT business analyst for a time.
Right.
And I do a lot of quality and kind of assurance testing in that area. But that taught me so many great skills. Even the video games that I played, like role-playing games, like things like Zelda.
Yeah.
And people joke
Zelda.
about World of Warcraft now. That's an MMORPG. I sunk like a year into that while I was in Phoenix, Arizona, on long-distance girlfriend. And even after that time sink, I sold the account for like $1,000, which isn't much considering the time.
Right.
But those things teach you to be task-oriented, to knock out lists, to go look and network. And you have to ask everybody questions in these games.
You have to find the solution and the answer to what you're looking for.
Politics. My first taste of politics came from a game called Civilization, made by a company called Sid Meier Firaxis. And when I described this game to my political friends, they're like, that sounds amazing. Because all it is you have a settler, you make a city, there's a government, a religion, a culture, and you make decisions and you manage economies. And it is ironically very, very relaxing for me because the number one thing is you are the only person making the decisions. And you don't have to enter the cacophony of voices that you have to convince on the daily. But there are actually university courses that use this game to teach international and government relations.
Wow.
And I was just playing it and just absorbing the information, historical facts in this game. So my method of procrastination inevitably enhanced and served pretty much everything I've ever done.
I love it. I love it. And it's great when you're able to do that, right? When you're able to take something which would initially be seen as a negative trait or a negative thing and actually turn it into a positive.
That's right.
I love it. Good stuff. And of course, this is Limitless TV, so I can't let you leave without sharing, like, what does Limitless mean to you? I mean, our tagline here is, of course, that the sky is not the limit. It's only the beginning. But for you, like, what does being limitless really mean?
Limitless for me means that there is absolutely nothing that you cannot contest. That everything that is concrete, everything that is finite, everything that has a limit, just means that somebody hasn't found a way to break that limit. That somebody hasn't found the loophole, that somebody hasn't figured it out.
Right.
Doesn't mean that nobody will. It just means that it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
So whatever you think is holding you back, you just don't know when your breakthrough is gonna happen.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Oh, well, I have thoroughly enjoyed you today, Chris. So what we're going to do is, I know we have to go. Time definitely flies when you're having fun. And I want individuals to be able to get in contact with you. So how can they find you? How can they find more about the Young Republicans? All that kind of stuff. Let's tell them what they can do.
I'm very, very active in social media, on Twitter and on Facebook. I tend to go very quippy on my Twitter, which is just @Perlera, and I'll trust you to give spelling.
Yeah.
And then on Facebook, I'm just Christopher Perlera. And if you're curious how my name is pronounced in Spanish, it's Perlera, if you can roll your R's.
I can't.
Close enough.
I got you. And that's Perlera, just so you guys know. Oh, awesome. Well, I have thoroughly enjoyed you. I'm really excited about, once again, this whole concept of really being able to master influence. And I think that is probably a great moniker and overarching quality that we discussed today. I'm excited. I wish you well and all the great things that are happening in your life. Of course, we're going to make sure we get in contact. I got to get you on the radio show too, so we'll talk about that. And I'm looking forward to learning more about the changes you guys are making within the party, and I can't wait to see what comes out of it.
Happy to share.
All right. So having said that, guys, this has been another exciting and informative edition of Limitless TV. I'm your host, lifestyle and procrastination expert. Once again, our incredible guest, Mr. Christopher Perlera. And we look forward to seeing you guys next time. Remember, here at Limitless TV, the sky is not the limit, it's only the beginning. God bless, and we'll see you all soon.